Hello, and welcome to Where Math Took Me, where we take a look at the beauty and value of math, and just where math takes people, professionally and personally. Real stories, real impact, and real life. I'm your host, Caden, and joining me today is, professor, director, speaker, like a ton of different things, economist, Jeff Rosensweig. Just for me and for the audience, just introduce yourself a bit. Like, what do you do? How did you get where? What did you do actually? Let's just start with that.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me on this show or series.
Of course.
You've done a great job, Caden, of getting tremendous lecturers. And I'm glad you're getting them from a variety of fields, business leaders, technology leaders, because I'm a professor at a business school.
Right.
In Emory University. It's named Goizueta Business School because Mr. Goizueta was the head of Coca-Cola Company.
Oh,
he made
wow.
it a very global company. You can be anywhere in the world and get a Coca-Cola. But I want to talk to people today about, for instance, I'm a business professor. I work with business people all the time. I'm a finance professor. In business schools, you have marketing or finance or accounting. So one thing I think, Caden, that's very relevant is that a lot of students, maybe high school students, as well as college, want to go into finance. It's a way to make a lot of money. It's kind of exciting. You can do it. You can work in London or Hong Kong or Shanghai or Dubai in finance. But something that's very interesting is most people don't know. It's not just sitting in a bank or something. To be very good at it, you have to be very good at math. And particularly statistics. So we're going to get into that later. But a little bit about myself. I was interested in math at a young age. I grew up on Long Island, which is a big part of New York, has about 3 million people on it. And I was a basketball player. Didn't try to be a nerd. But I went into a contest, the Long Island Math Fair, which was for the whole area of 3 million people. And I won that. So I realized, math is something that is useful and it's interesting. So then I got into Yale, maybe partly by winning that. And in my freshman year, I took, Yale had a math competition for freshmen. And I took that and I won that.
You're just doing this so casually, it's insane.
That's the thing. I want to talk about this for other people. What I realized is math can be used for so many things, but it's very important that people that are watching this, Caden, understand that it's so important to have that as a base, as kind of a bridge to other things you want to do. I wanted more kind of people in my studies, people
I see.
growing or developing a career or buying or selling or getting jobs. So I ended up not majoring in math, but majoring in economics. And that's something, even for you, Caden, I want you to think about, because the people that end up doing very well as economics professors or working at the top of the government in economics or big banks, these days particularly, are people that are very good at statistics and math in general, calculus, but really what's so interesting now is statistical analysis, because we have all this data. People have heard of big data, with AI, with supercomputers, we can get all this data. But
process it all, right?
How to do something intelligent with that data, how to analyze it. Sure, AI can analyze some of it, but we as people still have to know what is our purpose. What are we trying to figure out?
Right.
A marketing expert, and some, they can get data, but then they have to be able to analyze those statistics.
Right. What to do with the data.
Exactly. So that's why, I think as I'm on the show, I want people to feel as they go to college, or if it's college freshmen watching this, and they're thinking, what do I want to do? I'm really saying two things. One is make sure you get a basis in math. It's used in everything. And within that, make sure, again, calculus is important, but make sure you study as much probability and statistics as you can. And there's courses in what's called applied statistics, or statistics for business analysis, or quantitative finance, where you apply quantitative things, data, to finance. So if I could give one piece of advice for people who want to get stimulated by math, you and I are, but also do well in life and do well in their careers.
Of course.
You know, as an example of probability and statistics, I took that as a high school senior. You know, I did the AP in that. People should consider that who are
still doing that here.
Calculus. But people wouldn't play the lottery if they took a course in probability and statistics. Your probability of winning is very low. And
you would just know after.
You know, exactly. And, you know, the government, if the government's doing a lottery or something in Las Vegas, they're making a lot of money.
Of course,
You know,
that's
you're
the whole
putting
point.
money in and you're not getting as much out. So anyway, that is kind of my lead in is, you know, if someone wants to be on Wall Street, for instance, and make a lot of money, you got to start with math. And I think that is why your program
that's
so
kind
valuable.
of why I'm here, right. But I think I also want to just ask a little more. I mean, could you explain why you think math is such a useful, fundamental basis for everything? Because I mean, I feel like when people think of maybe marketing, they don't think of math. They think of how can I get more people? How can I inspire people? How can I draw in people to my idea? But how do like things like that relate to math? Why is it such an important basis?
Yes. For instance, talking about marketing, like I've in a company, a new company, and they're trying to get companies to give them money, and then the company I've invested in takes that money and kind of markets digitally on let's say it's Coca-Cola or Tide. You know, the company I invested in takes their money and then tries to give you a discount digitally, so you'll buy Coke instead of Pepsi. But now, where the interesting thing is, we have to convince the head of marketing for Coca-Cola that if they give us like $1 million to offer discounts to people, that this is the best use of that $1 million compared to taking advertisements out on TV, or having people go to soccer and football games and wearing Coca-Cola T-shirts and handing out Coca-Cola, Goosies or something. So what we're doing is that's all mathematics, actually. So if you're the head of marketing for a company, you want to see the data. You want to be, okay, before I give you $1 million, instead of giving it to ESPN to take out ads saying buy Coke, I want to see statistically why this gives me, better return.
Right.
So marketing has gone from like, let's make a good looking ad, or let's use these colors, almost strictly to statistical analysis.
Wow.
And that's very interesting because, before, let's say within business, if you were good at math, that was necessary for finance. Now,
right. That's how I understand it.
Even now, if you're the leader of a company, you are still trying to get money from investors. And the investors want to see the numbers, and they want to see the statistical analysis. Even good doctors, medicine, because many people listening will want to be doctors. Medicine is changing radically. Everyone wants to, every good doctor and every medical researcher trying to come up with new drugs that can cure diseases. That's almost purely mathematical now. The doctor sits down and reads the latest research, which is all statistics. Like we gave, the way medical research is done is you take 2,000 people. 1,000 you give the new drug that you're testing to see if it's good. 1,000 you don't give them that drug, and then you see after a year, how did the 1,000 who got the medicine do compared to not? And then it gets more mathematical than that, because then you might say, well, what happens if the person is black? So we have to do the math to take account of that.
I see
or if it's a woman. So even the best people I know, and Emory has a major medical school.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We actually have scientists who came up with a drug, which is why people no longer die of AIDS. That all happened at Emory. But those scientists, again, tremendous amount of skill in math and statistics to say, well, here's a million drugs we could try, but now we have to do these trials.
Yeah.
So that's what makes it interesting. Is it's kind of a base. And one thing I like people to think about, if they are, let's say, a high school senior or junior,
of course,
or a freshman. Because when you're a freshman, you didn't have to declare your major yet. You didn't have to say, I'm going to do chemistry.
Right. I've heard of that.
But this is so crucial for whatever you want to do. And a lot of people kind of hamstring themselves. They hold themselves back because maybe they become a sophomore in college, or they graduate college and they can, I realize I want to become a scientist or a computer scientist and start a business, or I want to go to med school, or I want to go straight to Wall Street. And, well, then a lot of them, the ones who don't succeed, are the ones who they don't have enough math background.
Right. You think it's math.
So I sometimes say it's what divides people. It's like,
all about math.
Yeah, you'd like to go to Goldman Sachs or some venture capital company and make a lot of money, but 1,000 people applied for 2 positions, Right. And it's the 2 who they give them a test and they give them all this data and say, analyze it and tell us what we should do. And that's often how interviews go. They kind of run you through a kind of a sample of what it would be.
Yeah, I didn't even know that.
Isn't that interesting? They call it a case. They give you a case.
And then you have to decide what to do, right?
And then they say, well, some people kind of, if you don't mind me saying, on your
not at all
kind of BS,
everywhere.
And others come in with real analysis. Everyone listening, of course, should be an expert on using Excel, of course, and if they aren't, then they should develop that skill, and you can do that online.
It's easy these days.
It really is. Someone like you who's good at it, I'm sure you can work off of that to make great graphs and use those to analyze what we are learning from the data. It also helps, again, for people that are like in high school now, when they go to college. One way to move ahead in life is to have a professor start to respect you and offer you a job as one of their assistants, helping them prepare materials for their teaching or helping them with their research. And again, the ones who usually get those jobs, let's say it's a famous professor where you go to a university. Well, that person gets to choose any student they want. If they're a student. But, as professors, we're not really worried about, well, this one is the best dressed one or something. We're kind of selfish. We want, which one can get on Excel and do
who's the most capable
things with math, make the best graphs, get data, know where to find data, which is interesting too. Like in a world of big data, all this data, but
all about it.
What's the good stuff to find, And when you find that, then how do you analyze it? So that's how you become the 1 out of 1,000. Is it going to be Caden or somebody else? That's usually the dividing point.
Right. So kind of what you're saying is you really need math to be able to look at data, know what to do with it, and it's separate. And the reason why it's so important to learn that is to separate kind of who can do this and who can't, right?
It really is.
Yeah.
And I guess my father used to say, kind of separate the horses from the donkeys. You want to be a horse,
Yeah, you would. Yeah. Right. And I think also math as a method to convince people. I didn't even think about it like that because, from my perspective, I usually see math as a method to solve problems in maybe physics, problems even within math itself. Because, for me, I like to look a lot at the theoretical side because I think that's super interesting. But what would you say, actually, this kind of ties into my next question, what do you think the ties are between applied and theoretical math? And what do you think do you think one is more important than the other, and how do you think one person can use skills from one to the other?
Yeah, no, I'm really glad you asked that, and I'm also glad
Yeah,
that you like theoretical math, and like you say, sometimes solving a
yeah, I love
problem
it. Yeah,
just for the sake of solving a problem, for
exactly,
thinking
exactly.
your way through it. Not that the problem is going to tell us how to keep airplanes in the air,
Right,
or
right.
have my bank beat your bank in competition. You're right, because there's something beautiful about math,
I know, right?
well, there was
Like an
something, the
art.
harmony, it's like the harmony of the spheres of the planets, math kind of fit.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's an important point too, Caden, which sometimes people think if they do something theoretical, like that,
Hmm.
let's say you major in math in college and you really do theoretical math instead of applied, like applied statistics. And you're right, I was talking maybe too much about that.
Oh, no, no, no worries. No worries.
Really, the people that succeed ultimately are people that really know how to use their brain
Hmm.
creatively, and as you know, AI,
Yes.
robotics will replace a lot of the very cut and dried kind of, we're just going to plug it in. So the people that will succeed are people that do things creatively, that think maybe in
Mm.
another dimension. As you know, theoretical math, when it gets hard, often you're not even thinking in 3 dimensions. You're kind
Oh,
of
no,
thinking
no,
in
no.
4 dimensions, and I'm
Or
sure
I,
you can
yeah, I
do
mean,
that. You
sometimes you have to
know?
look at like other fields and be like, how can I tie this to something else?
Exactly. And that comes down to something interesting, which is
Hmm.
when studies are done, you would think that people that are the great computer programmers, like the ones who are now programming, at the highest level of
Yeah.
artificial intelligence, you would think, well, they probably went to college and majored in computer science and learned. It often is
I mean, yeah,
the
maybe.
people who do theoretical math or
Mm.
philosophy. And
A
you might think
philosophy, of all
philosophy,
things.
you know,
Really?
but because philosophers again are sometimes not very what seems practical, not applied. It's like
Right.
asking, does God exist? But then you have to creatively think
Yeah,
about,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
well, what is an example why God, he or she might exist, or another
Mm.
question. I studied this at Oxford University. I had a
Yeah,
scholarship
wow.
to England, and I studied philosophy. And another question is like, what is the good? Like, is good doing nice things for other people?
Oh,
Is
right, right.
good something that you're born being a good person, or can you
Yeah, yeah,
develop
yeah.
being good? So, to a lot of people, this would, of course, sounds very abstract, just like theoretical math is
Yeah,
very
of
abstract.
course.
But that's the brains we need to be developing.
Mm.
Something that doesn't make us stretch, again, almost into a fourth dimension. Robots will do. Robots
Right, right.
program with
That's
AI.
what AI
It'll
is
be
for.
like,
Yeah.
you know, here's 16 numbers, we're going to add them up. So you're right. Where you and I talk about math is stretching beyond what the
Yeah,
robot
yeah, I
can
think I
do.
know what you mean.
Yeah. So
Right,
I
right.
think in your case, Caden, since you're one of the people that does have the skill as well as the interest, for
Thank
instance,
you.
if you went to college and
Yeah.
majored in math and stuck with a very theoretical aspect, then you could either start your own business by applying that kind of
Mm.
ability you have,
Thinking about outside
or
the
you
box.
could still go to business school, for instance, and get an
Wow, yeah.
MBA, a master's degree, and
Right,
graduate
right,
degree
right.
in business, and you still would have that mind that has that curiosity, that and usually and you're a good communicator. And
Yes.
then in business school, we can teach you the fundamentals of, okay, this is accounting, this is marketing, this is finance, this is
Right, right.
leadership. But you would still be better off, or people listening, if they came with that flexibility of mind they develop
Learning. Yeah, yeah.
by doing theoretical math or philosophy. Sometimes some people succeed in business and in computer programming or starting a business
Yeah,
who
yeah.
major in English. So
Oh,
again,
majoring
I
English.
always feel like you need the basis in math,
All
like you and
right.
I have talked about.
Yes.
So you can, we live in a world of data, but the interesting thing about majoring in something like English or even history is you have to research. You have to read a lot. learn about the world, maybe read about literature or history and history of other countries. And by doing that, you start also to understand how people work and how their behavior works. So, and so few things now are done where you actually research and read and write. But for instance, if you major in English, you actually got to write things.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's say it's creative writing, or poetry. It's not quite at the point where ChatGPT does that for you.
Oh, no, I hope not.
Exactly. And as professors, we have software now. We can take like the essay that the student writes and run it right through the software and find out if it was ChatGPT. Yeah. But I'm glad we're having this conversation, Caden, because I want people to have the confidence to realize the most important thing is not like, do I, go to business school, even though that's what I teach, or do I do math or economics? The most important thing is to develop the skills I'm talking about. Skills in math, skills in statistics, still the ability to do some research, read intelligently, to write. And you're very good at this. That's why you have this entire show. But
Thank you very much.
Communicate as a speaker. And of course, to be a successful interviewer like you are, maybe the most important communication skill, there's three. There's writing, which is still important.
Always that.
Speaking ability, but there's also listening ability, which you're good at, and that's why you're an interviewer.
I mean, that's kind of what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, no, it is. And partly because, again, no matter what you're doing, if you're a doctor, a lot of doctors don't really listen to the patient.
As you know, unfortunately true.
Particularly women. Often, if it's a male doctor, for instance, they
it kind of is that way
for a woman, and the woman is probably smarter than they are, of course. But again, that's something else. When people listening, I really want them to think about: am I a good public speaker? And if not, there's so many courses they can take. Not even having to pay expensive, there's expensive consultants who can teach you to be a better public speaker, but there's something called Toastmasters, which is all over the country, and it's free, and basically a bunch of people get together and practice and then give each other feedback.
Never heard of that.
Yeah, so that's why I just threw it out there. So it's hard in today's world to say like, well, I want to be a great leader or do something, but I'm afraid of speaking in public. Pretty hard to do anything when you can. So I'd like people to develop their speaking skills, their writing skills, and that's sometimes hard because schools, it's easier as a professor, as a teacher, just to have students fill in A, B, C, D.
Like kind of like just doing computations, right?
Exactly, and have the machines graded.
Yeah.
And then develop those skills as a listener. One of the greatest lines I ever heard, I like to bring great business leaders into my business school class at the university, just like you're bringing people on.
Of course.
And one is the guy who started Home Depot. And Home Depot was nothing, and now it has almost 500,000 people work there.
Yeah.
But he said the wisest thing, because he's a great speaker. That's one reason he was able to inspire people to invest, so he could start the company, inspire people to work there.
Right.
He was a great speaker, but he was telling my students how important it is to be a good listener. And like Home Depot, the whole model was based on someone walks in needing something, and the person working there should really listen to them, and then say, "Oh, what you need is this kind of hammer," or what you really need is this kind of plumbing device. And that's why Home Depot, they became billionaires just by the idea of, hey, we should listen.
Just with listening.
Yeah, and I'm sure I don't know, but we're probably running out of time. But I wanted to give people...
Don't worry about it.
Okay, this wonderful line. He said to my students, he said, you were given one mouth and two ears.
Oh.
Do the math. So there's where the math comes in.
What was that?
Not that I'm always good at that.
I know, yeah. But like, kind of just to summarize your point, you're kind of saying the most important skills for anybody in life is to think of outside the box, right? That's kind of where
right.
theoretical math, philosophy, English come in play. Writing, listening, and speaking, right?
That's right.
Like, yeah, I didn't even know because I feel like sometimes I see a lot of people maybe only have a few of those skills or
That's right.
two, maybe three, but having all four, I mean, I can kind of tell that you maybe have all four of those, and that really shows because I know you're like super successful. And actually, on the topic of listening and speaking, I was also looking over what you've done, and it says you've been like a keynote speaker, I think for like over like 2 decades now. Like, tell me about that.
Yeah,
What's
and
that
that's
about?
very interesting because one thing I want listeners to know is sometimes you
Yeah.
work hard, if you don't have skills, you polish them. Let me give you an
Mm.
example. When
Always
I
should
was
be. Right.
young, my mother reminded me, now that I make my money giving speeches to business leaders and even political leaders, I go around the country giving. I used to go to speech lessons. I used to
Oh, wow.
mumble and no one could understand what I was saying. Even when I was 6 years old, no one understood. So I bring that up because it's an
Yeah, sorry to
example
hear.
that anyone that's listening can polish and keep
Mm.
polishing. If you're a pretty good writer, you can't say, I'm not a good writer. Polish it, work on it. If
Yeah.
you say, again, like I said, if you're afraid of of speaking in public, work on it. The thing about that Toastmasters or something else like that, it's just not,
Right,
it's
right.
not threatening. It's a bunch of people, maybe who none of them are great speakers. So they come together uh, and they give a little talk, and each other kind of says, gives them, some
Feedback,
feeling
right?
of security.
Mm.
Um, so, so that's point number one is start thinking of things you need to fill in or that you love and you want to do more of, but then
Yeah.
develop it. Like a lot of people are like, I want to write a book. So like I've written some books, but it's like everyone says I want to
No,
write.
I've
The
seen
problem
you
is,
in some
and the
books.
problem is finishing a book.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta
Always
you
this.
gotta get up every day, even if you don't feel like it. So that's point number one. But the other thing is, I don't want people to be hard on themselves because
Mm.
about
Always.
half of success is luck, you know,
Right,
and
right.
then you got
Opportunity
to
and luck.
make your own luck though. If you're not there, if you're not on the sidelines trying to get in the game, and saying, "Coach, put me
Mm.
in," you're never going to get in the game.
Yeah, I mean, it always
But
is like that.
but let me give you an interesting example because you asked how did I get started with a speaking career, especially
Yeah,
overcoming
yeah.
a speech impediment. So I live in Atlanta where CNN is headquartered, and I was doing some writing, and I wrote something not
Oh.
just for other professors, which we do, academic things,
Yes.
but I wrote something that ended up in the big Atlanta newspaper, and
Wow.
those were days when everyone used to read the newspaper.
Yeah.
There was no TikTok, for
Of
instance.
course. Yeah,
So
yeah.
one of the leaders at CNN saw this article I wrote, about where the economy is going and how that affected
Yeah,
it or
yeah.
something. So they put me on CNN just for an interview, and that interview went pretty well. So they
Nice.
put me on for another one and another one over time. And then one day,
Yeah, yeah.
a head of one of these speaking agencies, these speaking bureaus that, you know, Coca-Cola or the state of California
Yeah.
government,
All in
we
Atlanta.
go to a speaking agency and said, hey, we need a speaker who can talk about the economy, for instance.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
the head
yeah.
of a speaking bureau just happened to see me. So that's where the luck comes in.
Right, right,
Walks
right.
up and says, I like how you communicate. You can talk to real people. You're not sounding like some
Yeah,
nerdy,
yeah.
geeky professor. So then I got speaking, and that built and built, and that's been very fulfilling for me.
Fulfill.
But
Yeah.
but in our last kind of minute together, I know you have a limit, but
No, no, no. It's okay.
again, how things get lucky, but also again, you have to be ready to get in the game.
Yeah,
Now
yeah.
I'm married, and I'm married to a wonderful woman who was a CNN television anchor.
Oh, wow.
First seen around the world. Then she went
Small
on to
world.
be an anchor for something called CNN International. So if
Wow.
you travel around the world, then you see her. So two things came out of this. My speaking career, which has been very fulfilling and
Yeah,
rewarding,
yeah.
and a
And then-
wonderful wife.
Yeah, literally just your wife.
But it's partly because, and that's why I'm doing this as a message to other people, not to
course.
myself, because I realized this is important,
Mhm.
being able to be a good public speaker. And
Yeah,
part of
yeah.
being a good public speaker is being a good listener too. Just like you're listening.
Right.
Time,
2 years.
You know, and like if I'm on TV being interviewed, or if my wife is interviewing someone, well, if you're not listening to the questions being asked, you're not going to give a good answer. You know?
Yeah.
So it's
of course not, right?
Intently, you know. And speaking of which, I want to compliment you, Caden, because that was a really good summary, you know.
No worries.
Of the points we've talked about. So you actually listened very well, you know. This is something students should be doing. This comes in. This is how the ways you learn to think out of your box. You really handled that very well. So I predict success for you. Well, I've really enjoyed this, and you keep going with this. And
I still have more time. You don't have to worry.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds really interesting though, because that opportunity of just writing some random article and then getting called by CNN it feels insane to me. Like, I've always heard success is opportunity and luck, but I feel like you really show that, especially.
That's one reason I wanted to tell.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't like I decided I'm going to come in and talk about it, but but a good communicator or a good professor never goes into a story, even if it's about themselves, if there isn't some universal truth, you know. So that I told that story so that students will be like, wow, you know, I got to always be prepared, you know, sharpen my sword,
fundamental skills,
be on the side, you know, that if I can get in there, always be sharpening that. So for instance, if you happen to be in an elevator with the head of something you want to work for, or if you want to go into the movie industry or media, all of a sudden you're in an elevator and there's your favorite actor or actress, or, you know, you got like 15 seconds before that elevator gets to where they're getting off to say something intelligent, you know. So that's where you make that point. You got to be prepared, you know. Luck only comes for those who are
ready.
You know, ready to receive luck.
Yeah.
You know? I always like sports analogies, but like, you know, when that ball is passed to you, like, you know, like, I'm glad I didn't mess up the first time on CNN, you know.
Yeah.
You're on 9
times,
have to be ready. You do a great job. Then if you mess one up, they're like, well, we know he's good. He just fumbled this time. You know, but again, for the young people here, you want to make sure you're ultimately prepared. So when you do get that chance, you know, another example, let's say they want to get in with one of the professors. They start taking a class and oh, I love this class. I really like this professor. I'd love to ask him, you know, do you need any help? Can I?
Yeah.
It's a way to kind of get in the game of that professor.
Right.
Well, the first time you go up to that professor to talk about anything, maybe you go up and say, you know, your class is really interesting to me. Well, don't just say that. It's not just, oh, it's interesting, or I love your class. Then come in with something very specific, very concrete, you know.
That's where like the listening comes in.
Exactly. You know, I heard you say that this is a good book. Now, this book is not required for the class, but I heard you say it. So I ran over to the library, or if it's online, you know, or Amazon, I bought it right away. That's so impressive, because then the professor or the teacher, let's say at the senior, thinks this person isn't just here to do the minimum to get it. You know, this person listens to me to see how they can go beyond the other people, because they have hunger and curiosity. So that was a good trick, by the way.
Has that happened to you?
Oh yeah, I at Yale as an undergrad, and again, I wasn't faking it. I had a professor, James Tobin, who was a great professor, and I was really interested. And then you didn't have, believe it or not, you didn't have the web or anything.
Yeah.
You didn't even have email until my senior year, any kind of email. But he mentioned this book, and I thought that sounds really interesting. It had nothing to do with the requirements for the class. I ran to the library thinking, I'm going to meet other people there. Of course, no one else ran, of course. But I got there, I read it, and then not even to kind of get in with him, just because I was interested. I started
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about it and asked him some questions. I didn't really understand this. I'm just a college sophomore. He said, Jeff, I always hire 5 students to work
Oh,
with me in the summer, and you get paid and you get to stay at Yale in the summer.
wow.
So again,
Incredible.
so I'm not doing this because it's Jeff. It's because I'm trying to get people listening. So like,
Yeah, yeah,
oh,
yeah.
this is the kind of thing I ought to be doing, you know? And I'm also saying you can't really fake, just like you have an intellectual curiosity, Caden, that's why you're
Thank you.
doing this
Yeah,
thing.
right.
You got to really feel that hunger for wanting to learn. Sometimes I'm wanting to
Curiosity.
learn. I
Yeah,
talk
yeah,
about
yeah.
it grow too, grow as a person, develop as a person. So that's kind of a few tricks though along the way,
Right, right, right.
that aren't meant to be tricks. They're meant to make people better, people
Yeah,
listening,
yeah, yeah.
better
Getting
people.
getting like a lot of connections, like just showing genuine interest and curiosity, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
And like a guy like me who's been teaching for over 30 years. It takes me
Yeah.
about 10 seconds to smell out someone who's just looking for connections, or they know I have a lot of connections, and
Right, right.
as opposed to someone
Super
who
common.
really is coming with some curiosity. It takes about 15 seconds. And some of the other people you've
Yeah.
interviewed, they've risen to very high levels in businesses. They know by now exactly who are people
Right,
that
right.
really want to, contribute, who really want to learn, who really want to share ideas with others.
Yeah, yeah.
I bet if you went back and asked any of them or sent them an email, they would probably say 15 seconds. That's how long it would
15
take,
seconans.
to snuff
Yeah,
out
yeah.
anybody,
Yeah, I guess that's a skill you like picked up over time,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
you really do.
And I think I mean, because you were just talking about your undergrad days, right? Like
Yes.
I was actually looking at what you were doing and I was just super shocked because you have I think 2 master's degrees.
Yes.
Tell
Yes.
me about that. I was like really
Yeah.
I
And
was
that
kind of
goes back
confused.
a little bit to what you and I were talking about, which is, just being curious and always wanting to
Yeah.
learn.
Yeah.
And then you don't do it just because it'll help you, but then it ends up also helping you different ways. So I was majoring in economics. I knew, that with my base in math, I realized, yeah, but math gets applied to economics, and economics I just thought was more interesting.
I see the connection.
Inflation and exports and Trump with his
Ah.
tariffs and
Yeah.
but also I had an interest in political science. I'm interested in
Hmm.
politics and where does that
Smart.
lead us, and I'm interested in philosophy. So I ended up having kind of one master's in economics and then a PhD in economics, of course, but
Right.
then a master's
MD.
that involved philosophy and political science. And there's actually some overlap between them because some of the
Wow.
great philosophers of history have related it to politics.
Oh.
Aristotle is an example. He's one of the greatest philosophers ever, but he was often talking about like how should government be designed. Plato
Yeah.
basically did. He wrote his most famous book is The Republic. Like how do you
Right, right,
organize
right.
government? In a republic, kind of. So I'm glad you brought it up because again, there's no one path to success.
Oh, it never has
The thing
been.
is, I was always stretching, and
I can kind of tell because you were
Yeah.
like doing so many things.
yeah, and the thing is not to be totally disorganized. It's like
Of course, of course.
I was learning these other things, but meanwhile I was trucking through toward getting my PhD in economics. So one of the great things I heard, none of this is original from me, but as people listening go into college, or if they're in college as they go through it, or even if they go to graduate school, think of education like a T, which is know a little bit about a broad amount. Like you ought to know some chemistry, some economics, some English or history, but then to make it a T, go deeply into
Right.
those are the
Right,
people
right.
that succeed are people that are interesting to other people. For instance, they can talk a little bit about history and philosophy, but also at the end of the day, you do have to be an expert in something,
Yeah, yeah.
And if you're an expert, the door is open to you.
What the degree is for, right?
Yeah, and that's a great education when you do that.
Right.
So,
So you're kind of saying like a good education is doing a lot of different things, but also making sure you're still focused
Yeah.
on one thing at the end.
Yeah, if someone
Right.
says to you, let's say when you finish college, which I guess is like 4 years from now,
Yes, yes.
people are going to start to find out if you're interested. They're going to interview for a job or to go to, business school or go to work at a company. They're going to first bring you out to lunch or dinner. And they're going to find out if you're interested. They're going to say, what do you think about what Trump's doing here? And what do you think about
Yeah.
Ukraine and Russia?
Yeah.
Have you read any? Often they ask questions like, have you read any good books lately? So just to see, again, know anything about English and literature. But then they want to see are you the best? Not the fourth best, at something. And if they can do that, that's the people that greatly succeed. And of course, some of them. So you've had that advantage of knowing, that not that they're going to make the world easy for you, but you have the advantage of knowing what it takes to reach greatness,
Yeah, 100%.
And it's not always easy, of course, but that's why they reach greatness,
Right.
Yeah.
Being able to know a lot, but also, I guess, like having the breadth, but also having the depth, but in different things.
Very well said.
Exactly where
you're a
that
good listener
kind of
because you
comes in.
summarize well.
Yeah.
It's late here because I'm in the East time zone.
Oh, I see.
So I'm gonna get off, but I want to compliment you for this and keep me informed of who else is going to be on this series. I'm interested in seeing
thank you so much.
how you roll it out. I think it's great that you bring people with different backgrounds.
That's my plan. Yeah.
And I'll give you a chance to give your final words.
Yeah, I mean, thank you so much for being on. Like, I know you have like so many years of experience in a lot of different fields, and it was really interesting to hear about a lot of the things you had to say directly for college students, people graduating high school. I think a lot of people can learn from what you said.
Well, thank you. I think I hope everyone listening has professors that they kind of devote themselves to their students.
Yeah.
Students succeeding. At this point, I'm not thinking Jeff's got to succeed more. I'm like, I got all these students.
You're in a great place.
Them to figure out what their own dream is. Where do they want to do with their life? And then I like to get them there. So I'm glad you noticed that I have.
Would you say that's like the joy of teaching?
Yeah, I was going to say that I have a passion.
Yeah.
Joy is seeing a guy like you in 20 years, and seeing that you took some of this knowledge that I gave you, but also
I hope so.
You got a lot of skill. It's a matter of you were born with skill, and you got the right DNA. But a lot of people have the right DNA and they don't do anything,
Right.
If you know like baseball, they get
improving
picked
the
off.
goals.
They're born on third base, but they get picked off. They never run home.
Yeah.
I think you'll run home. All right, so I'll sign out now, but you keep up with this big series.
Thank you so much for your time. I mean, I know it's a bit late for you, but I really appreciate it.
Oh, no, but I wanted to do it because I think you're going places in life. Okay, well, take care.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you so much.